Good evening, morning, good evening, morning, whatever it is. It's 1 in the morning. Jesus Christ. Wait.
Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end, 'cause the rich man,
Dude, I've been jamming to that so hard. It's so it's so soulful. Holy fuck. Okay, so reverse COVID rally for the final push before VIXageddon. This is where we're at. This is the setup that we're at. We're gonna go through most of everything. The big points, there's too much to talk about. I'm just gonna go over the main points. We're gonna go through what I see, what our last video talked about and how we got here, how everything is set up, and what to look for. Okay, so we're going to go through each thing with what I see. There's so many things. There's so many indexes, so many stocks, so much information, so much data that you can go through. I'm going to go through very simple things, and they encompass a lot of everything: the data, the algos, the psychology, everything that's already there. So we don't have to go through a million different things and just flood with information. Just trying to show what I believe is about to happen. Right off the bat, I think we're going to have a final rally and we're going to hit the yellow line. So here in 2022, we hit the green line. On the 4-hour chart here, it did something like this. It did something like this on the 4-hour chart. It touched it here, got hard rejected. It went above it, bounced off it from above, it broke below it, retested, and then failed on the 4-hour. Okay, and it was on the green line. And we just missed it here now on the daily and the weekly. We're so close to this that I don't think that we're going to drop that we just did and that we're just going to go up to here. Doesn't make sense, doesn't look like that's what it wants to do. It looks like it actually wants to hit the yellow line, which would be around 5,600. So it's about 11% higher from here. I think it's going to be mid-June. You have the Fed meeting, the CPI, and the Apple AI event. That's like this big event all in the same week. And the market always moves off of the Fed and Apple. It's like the two things that have to happen. It's always the Fed and Apple. Why? Because they're just the most important, basically. And so it coincides really well with just everything that I see as well. And we'll go through it. The green line is Great Depression, the dot-com bubble, and 2022. And then here, the green line, it sinks into it. There was like, it kind of went through it, like it sunk into it from above, it gets rejected, and then the yellow is the tips. And so we missed the tip and we sunk into it in the dot-com bubble in here, and now we're right up against it again. I think we're going to blow off because it just doesn't make sense to go into the green line after we just had that drop there. Okay, so that's what I think. I think we go up to May, most likely June on the big event. Because we're not going to drop for 3 weeks and then go up. There's just too much energy in the market for us to just go up for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So we're looking for at least mid-June. And that's the next target or the next video that I'll make. I'm going to go over what we talked about in the last video. We wanted to see a violent sell-off here to retest all-time highs, give or take a little bit above or a little bit below. We got it on the Fed. We went up. We were looking for a very violent sell-off in the middle of February with a violent reverse COVID rally from March into April. We got exactly what we wanted to see with the violent sell-off in the middle of February, which triggered an outsized move in the VIX. This move went way more than it should have, and this is what ends up happening in a VIXageddon type of event. It showed its face. I'm almost positive either I said it on the video or I knew that's what it was going to do. It's the face of the correction. And it makes a lot of sense when it does exactly what it's supposed to do. This move was ridiculous. It just whoosh towards the end of the day, right? So we got that and it barely moved, right? Pricing in a future move. Then we got the insane rally. We didn't get the reverse COVID rally. This is not it. as it was going higher, it chopped the whole way up. Volatility, violent move down, trickled up, violent move down, reactive move, violent move down, and then you get the final blow off move. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for something that is relentless, brutal, brutally relentless, up and to the right. And we'll go through this here. This was the Fed day where we blew off and we broke the uptrend right here on that day, and then it retested the broken trend on that blow off on the Fed. And what would you know? You get an algo trigger for the first time since September 15th in UVXY, March 20th, on the close of this day at 4 p.m. And what would you know? That was the peak in momentum, straight down since then. And what was the algo trigger? It was announcing the reverse split of UVXY, which would take into effect, what would you know? April 11th. Where is it? Right here, April 11th. Now we'll go through specific things with this and why it's very important. You can't make you just can't make this stuff up. So it gets triggered right here at the top and it goes down. You end up having the eclipse that happened here over the weekend between that day and that day. And it caused this, which is what we wanted to see. And then we were scared that we'd have this huge rally going into the April 8th eclipse. April 8th, right there, what happened at April 8th? Straight down like an arrow. So this was very scary because eclipses and news feeds were active for the downside. So it was very scary. It's very scary. Even when I see the wave where the market should go higher, you have an eclipse and a news and algo triggers for the downside. You can't fight that. They don't work like that. You can't just hope that it doesn't happen. So this was very scary, but when you get to the top of a major market top, everything needs to happen. Everything. Psychology, the algos, the glitch trades, psychology, the Reddit stocks and the ARK stocks, everything needs to blow. Like everything needs to happen. We were not there. This entire month, we were pessimistic. People were literally saying, we need to correct, we need to correct, we need to correct, we're overbought, like the whole month from mid-March to early April. So like that's not what you see at a top. What you see as a top is people making a lot of money really quickly, and all the psychology of the Fed and earnings and everything go away. And in the midst of bad news or whatever news, it keeps going up and holds up. And then people just say, I guess we're going to keep going up forever. The shorts completely capitulate. Like that's what you need to see at the top, and it needs to kind of vibrate for a certain amount of time, days, weeks, months, and we're getting there. Okay, so we need to go through all of this stuff. April 8th, literally the intraday, the eclipse, straight down. The importance for UVXY. So this is where the algo trigger happens, right there at the open. Now, this is very important. UVXY, it goes above the zero line on the daily. Above the zero line with an impulse up means it is correction time. And this goes above the zero line and goes. So right here, that was insane that you literally, it went above, it gets hard rejected, and then it quote unquote activates, but it activated in a very weak way, a very weirdly coiled way. And it looked exactly like what was going to happen right here, is that this was peak momentum and it was going to fail. And we literally tweeted out on Friday, and we got to go through so much. We'll go through UVXY first. So here it fails. So that's very clean so far, but it's going to come back down. And when this comes back down and this touches the zero line, the yellow, that's where you're going to get the volatility. So either it's going to happen on the PCE on Friday or on the Fed May 1st. So we have to get through this week. The earnings, I think, are going to hold up and the market will be fine. We have to get through PCE. If we sell off, I think we get bought up. And if we gap up, we gap up. It's not going to, it may fill the gap, but that's fine. It's not a problem. You want to see it, if you get the gap down, you want to see it get eaten up. And you're going to get some volatility once this comes down. So this is kind of the face of the correction. This should be like the last stabilizer for the market when this comes back down to the zero line. So this is going to be somewhere around PCE. It doesn't have to be exactly on the zero line for the move you want to see, but if it is, you'd expect it. So some sort of volatility on the Fed, we go down like 1-2%, but then we gap up the next day and keep going type of thing, some shit like that. One of the biggest things about UVXY is this. Hello? Hello? What are you doing there, bro? Hello? There was a glitch trade down to $9. 9.21 on the day of the split. As soon as it opened at 4 a.m., there was a glitch trade lower. Is it a one print? What is this? So it's just a candle like this. That's significant. So with UVXY splits, you got the algo trigger right here, and this is why it's important. You got the algo trigger right here, March 20th, open on that day, and you can see it wasn't the bottom of UVXY because the function of UVXY trades differently than the S&P in certain parts of a wave. So it went lower, market went sideways. It was basically peak down momentum, straight up from that point. Why did it top here? Because, and I don't think most people know this, but it's very common. I've seen this many times. This happens all the time. I kept saying something needs to happen in UVXY for the market to go up. Something needs to happen because the algo trigger March 20th triggered this bullish and it's not stopping. There's no magic randomness that's going to happen that is going to stop this from going. Something needs to happen. And what ends up happening is once you get the split, April 11th, which was right there, it kept going. And then what ends up happening is it was still not recalibrated from the split. So this price here was like up to here. There was a huge gap, right? And then it traded for a couple of days up to there. And then on the day, on the Friday, so for that whole time, for like a week and a half, it was a gap. And so it was still like, quote unquote, in tune with the algo trigger. Friday, I noticed it was somewhere between 10 a.m. and noon, somewhere around there, because I kept checking, it recalibrated. So then when you click like this, it's all the same. It goes back to normal. There's no huge, gigantic gap. And what would you know? It was the top. And what would you know? It was the top. Peak momentum somewhere around here, and then literally straight down like a rock. Algo trigger. And I've seen it so many times. Like 5, 6, 7 times, where you get it triggers and then it recalibrates, or it opens on that day. There's volatility. It opens on that day and then it dies, or it does this and it recalibrates and then it switches. It does it all the time. Very, very important. Another thing on the weekly, it's very common. You go into the weekly and you hard fail. It's a very significant momentum for the market above the weekly 20 is extremely bearish. It's a corrective type of setup, which is insane that happened. It's something like that. So whenever you have like a big up move in the market, you usually do something stupid like this. Like it retests, goes up, and it looks like it's ready to explode, and then it does that because it always does extra before a big down move. And what did this do here? Same exact thing. 1, 2 gaps down and explodes through it, and then gets hard rejected right on the open. So the thing that makes everything call off all bets this week into next is if it breaks that. We do not want it to break that. This is very bad if it breaks that. If it breaks that, you cannot buy the market and you cannot be bullish until the market goes back up again. That is very, very bad. But again, I don't see this happening right now because of the waves of the market. We go. That's UV. I think that's most of UV. We'll go through the VIX. We had the outsized VIX move. This is not a bullish wave in the VIX. This is the market. So you had this. This is a volatility event. You get the trigger, it comes down, and then you get the residual. And it traded insane. It spiked up. Look at on UVXY. It's so obvious with UVXY. Look at this. We made a tweet at the neutral print of UVXY, and it's very significant. You can see how the market traded after that neutral print extremely bearishly. spike, gap down, spike, gap down, spike, gap down, spike. So it's pushing, it's really trying to push, and then it fails, and then boom, boom. Okay, it's extremely violent trying to push down, and you can see how it actually creates the highs and the lows going forward, and it's trying to reverse the momentum of everything. Very, very specific, and it dies. It died here on the Fed day. It broke the uptrend, which this is such a freaky uptrend in the VIX. This is not how the VIX moves. This is so freaky and scary. And so it broke this. This move here is like the market wanted to go higher, the VIX wanted to go lower, but you ran into the big VIX trend. And you can tell by how the VIX was reacting with the moves in the market. Every time the market goes up violently, so that there was these hooks. It spikes up, hooks lower, and then blasts up. Hooks lower and blasts up. Hook lower on the CPI, blast up. Again, hooked, spiked up, hooks lower, and it keeps doing these hooks up and around. So it's trying to go lower and rejects it. Tries to go lower, rejects it. And it's like, I don't know how to explain it other than it's trying to go lower but can't because there's a bigger VIX trend of massive momentum right over here. And we eventually got this candle is insanely scary. This is a breakout candle for the VIX, or for anything for that matter. This is a clean, big candle, and I think this is the stabilizer for the move coming. I think this candle is it. And it happens right on the God line for the VIX. This is a God line, a huge God line. And we mentioned it in our tweet saying that there was an algo trigger the 8 a.m. at 4:18, April 18th. And this is why we'll get into the bottom. April 18th, talking about how there's going to be a VIX event, including Israel and Iran. And we're right at the line here. And so you're right at the line and you traded like this and you have an open red, you're most likely going to break this. It's just about how bad you break it. And so we expected something happening with Israel and Iran, Israel attacking Iran, literally that night. 12 hours later, Israel attacks Iran overnight, and then that happens. You get the gap up, but we tweeted it's counterintuitive that you're looking for the break of this, but then the market holding, and you needed to butt clench because this is such an insane move with the amount of momentum down in the market, actually breaking this God line and actually breaking down. People don't understand how much down momentum is in the market. People will look at this and be like, oh, so you mean we basically just filled the gap from here, nicey nice, and we have this perfect sine wave on the MACD going into the zero line, and we overextended through it and came back up. Well, before it actually did that, but you're like, oh, we're coming right down here. It's like, oh, so it's basically just a normal 5% correction, and people really just don't understand how unbelievably violently bearish the market is. And so this was very scary for me. So for me, it's insanely scary, like very scary. And so you end up getting an algo trigger this morning on this candle, and then you get an algo trigger right here. So you explode up, you come down, you fill the gap, you're ready to go up, and then you get an algo trigger right here at 8 in the morning, saying that the VIX is going to stay somewhere between 15 and 20 going forward, that the VIX will be subdued. So that's another algo trigger, and that happens right here. And then what happens to the VIX? Straight down. That is insanely bearish. So one of the problems of this type of move, there is so much violency of hooking on the VIX into the big trend, is the kickback here. And this goes down, so it's this week with earnings and PCE, and then the Fed next week. The kickback can be very violent, extremely violent going into next week. I think this looks like all support here. This is the previous uptrend, right? And we're kind of going into the VIX daily middle Bollinger here. But I think we pierce through everything. I think we do. That may cause volatility going into the zero line from above. But the whole setup. So this is the VIX. Weekly MACD is coming up into the zero line. This is very, very scary. It comes up, gets hard rejected, and now it's coming up. You can even see we had a massive stabilization here in August 2022, and you can see inverse head and shoulders on the MACD. People don't really look at that. They don't really know that that's a thing. It's a wave, one sine wave of a move off of that stabilization. So you stabilize up, and then you have shoulder, head, shoulder. And remember, this is where the VIX got triggered, December 15th it was, on the VIXM ETF. And that's what causes this to start going up now. So that is insanely high. And like, look at this. You'll never find this ever on the VIX. That is the most freakish shit ever. Look at this. This is so freaky because it's bullish, but it's working off massive down momentum. So you just keep getting these massive kicks until it finally blew itself. So let's clean this up here. Broke out and hard failed. And you now have the algos and the technicals and the psychology on your side now. So this is also something VIXM has. Oh my God, this is new today. Holy shit. Massive daily volume, the most you'll ever see on this ETF. Look at this. So this was before COVID. This is all the volume, right? This is all the volume, big volume prints before COVID. What is that? What the fuck is that? So this is all at the bottom before COVID, and then now you're getting the biggest prints ever. This is huge. So this is doing something here. And so that's very scary. And you can even see on the monthly MACD how this wants to do something like this pretty soon. And just cross. It doesn't have to go up to there or whatever, just actually cross. So there's that. Again, UVXY. You have this $9 print. I don't know if we get here. I really don't. But if we start ripping and we do the reverse COVID rally that it's set up to do, if this is true to form, this is a reverse COVID rally. This is going to go to here. And the market is going to... It's insane how actually bullish it potentially is right now outside of this PCE Friday and Fed next week. Also, VVIX had a glitch trade in December 13th. That didn't actually go there. It was a glitch trade, and we just tapped it the other day, April 12th. Look at that. Look how cute that is. Oh, so this somehow predicted this move here, and it knew it was going to get there? Yep. Yep. Because it's a glitch trade. It wasn't an actual trade. It's not like support resistance or the amount of put call spreads and blah, 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 blah. It's a glitch trade. It's computer algos knowing where it's going to go. Look at that. But see how this is interesting? See how low this is? See how high this is? It's a big difference. Big difference. And this is what causes really big crashes. So let's just look at SPY. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful here on one sine wave. I think this is going to pierce this violently. There's so many stocks. There's the ARK stocks and the Reddit stocks, the meme stocks. They look insanely bullish. If we ripped out here February to April, we would have got the pop. Even some of them started to rip, but then they died off. And it was because it's setting up for this. Yeah, it's actually insane. Stabilizes up and just pure down momentum, just free fall right into the zero line, and then the algos trigger again. So the momentum is still up here. If true to form, the momentum is still up here. And then it has this to spring off of. So it's actually insane. You could just go to the weekly. That looks really clean. Like, oh, so we just hit the 20 weekly and we bounced. Okay. It was really simple. We got this really weird gap up and straight down. That's a very weird, choppy, irregular type of move. So it was less likely to be what it looks like, which was quote unquote, oh my God, everything's crashing, blah, blah, blah. The psychology is a big factor. It's one of the biggest. Everyone was so bearish up here. Everyone. Oh, we're too high, we're too high, we're too high. Correction. Like everybody. Nobody was like, we're going to go higher. Everybody was like super cautious and scared. So that's a big thing. Now we're still ripping. This is insane on the 4-hour. Look at this 4-hour MACD. That it's the lowest since October, and look how it chops. hooks, hooks, hooks. You know how bearish that is? It is so scary. This is why it was so unbelievably scary. You get one crack, this goes like this, and this starts to go like that. That is flash crash setup. That is like COVID level flash crash setup. And all the algos got triggered. Okay, so this is one of the biggest things. This is what I tweeted. And this had to do with the algo triggers April 18th for the Israel attack, and then the morning of the 19th saying that the VIX is going to go lower. Okay? This is a very rare thing that happens. This is 11 p.m. This is 4 a.m. There was no trading on any of the indexes between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. There's no candle here. See that? 2300, 4 a.m. And so here you'd be like 2300, midnight, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it trades. It'll always trade. It's very rare that it does this. And the only reason why it can come up why it actually does that is because it wants to get the VIX print at 3:15 a.m. where it wants to get it. So the idea was to have the gap up, have it break the line and fail. That's what the tweet was. That was the whole idea. That was the whole setup. A butt clenching setup. Please God, hold. And it held, and we got it. And like, this is it. Like this should be sent because everything cleaned out perfectly. Everything that you're looking for cleans up perfectly. This happens due to usually around extreme inflection points. This is just what happens. It happens around extreme tops, extreme bottoms, where the glitch trades happen because it needs to get the print somewhere. It needs to do this for whatever reason based on the computer algos, for whatever reason. My reason is I think they needed the VIX print at 3:15, and then as soon as the 3:15 print comes out, okay, we'll get the 4 a.m. trigger. Well, everything opens at 4 a.m., but like it could have opened at 3 a.m. or 3:15 or whatever, it just waited for 4. So it did this on every index. And I was like, okay, so this really needs to hold. And if it does, we are clean. And then, yeah, and then the Russell on day one, like this looked insane. The Russell flash crashes into a god line. So again, one of these things where it just kind of falls off the map on an event, especially the Israel war. Whenever you crash on the war, you buy the war. That's usually what happens, not always, but like that's pretty consensus. And in this case, this was very clean because it's set up for a crash into the event. Do you see how the stepping patterns? You see this? You only see this in extreme energy. The hooking. It's like carry 200 pounds and walk really fast. It's very difficult. You have to walk very slow or carry 400 pounds and walk. Right? You'll be like shifting your body, taking one step, and then like moving around and moving very, very, very slow. Everything's very clunky. You can't just move like with the normal gait and just be very fluid, right? This is what ends up happening. You get this very clunky, okay, I'll let go and then catch the weight. I'll let go and move. It moves very, very clunky, and it's very obvious. It did this every day for like 3 weeks. It was insane. Actually insane because there's so much energy in this. Absolutely so much energy in this. This is a year's worth of resistance here and here. These are two god lines. Broke it here. This was the start of the year. You can see it's kind of like a bear flag. It like bear flagged off of this blow off move, and we bottomed right into it, right into the zero line as well. Like everything just looks really, really clean. And up we go. So what we wanted to see from February to April-ish is happening now. And this is the thing with the market, is things always go longer than you expect them to go. It's just the way the market does. But it's not like a bad thing because, you know, market kept going higher, right? It's not like the market is going to fall out of the sky before you're expecting it. Just was scary, and it should be scary because you're expecting a massive move. So you want to get that fear, you want to get that deleveraging, you want to get the put calls up, etc., etc. Psychology reset, all that good stuff. Look how violent that is. We tweeted that the Russell is going to blow a hole through the universe here or here, and yeah, this thing is unbelievably bullish. I think it's going to hit the yellow line here. This was a god line. So it's about 16% higher. It may even hit all-time highs, but this is the target. You have the Bitcoin, oh, so many things. The Bitcoin halvening. You had this. You had now the Fed and this whole thing with um, yields getting too high, but the Fed going, "Oh no, we're good, we're good." Another thing, the Fed literally said, "This is when you kind of things started getting very sus." The Fed literally said, "This day right here, April 16th, inflation's not going in the direction we want it to go. We're keeping a close eye on it and stuff like that, and we might not have to hike like at all." He said some shit like that, but he said inflation's not going the way we wanted to go. The market should have flash crashed at any time, at any moment, at any time in the past. This thing would have been down 2% in a blink of an eye. And why didn't we? Because we're setting up for a euphoric blow off top that nobody knows about, nobody thinks, nobody's worried about. It's going to be amazing. And so, yeah, those are a lot of the things that I've seen. I'm sure I've missed some stuff, and I'm sure there's other nuances that I just don't care to talk about. But there's a lot of algo triggers and a lot of things that are happening exactly when you're expecting them to. And when they do that, it's very clean. It's very clean. It's very unlikely to reverse that. It's very unlikely. So if the market, so there's two things. Either we chop, I'll go over Tesla last really quickly. If we chop here, we can expect to see something like we go up to the daily middle Bollinger, we go up to this 513, 509 level, and we get some resistance. We got the downtrend here, you know, chop city, chop city, bitch. Like as this comes up, I would expect to see some sort of volatility here. And because there's so much down momentum, you'd expect to see some violent ass shit. So you got some like gap up straight down. I would love to see it goes up, 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 gap down, straight up. So you get the opposite part of it. This is going down, this will be going up. Something like that. Doesn't have to, but you just want to see a very strong, consistent type of rip. And if we get high enough, I'd be looking for the Fed to sell off on May 1st and then recover and get sent. If we're not high, or somewhere in this range, or below this, then I don't think we would sell off that much on the Fed, because this looks like a massive blow off bottom. When you get that type of move, that this whole section is a blow off bottom. These two candles off the gap. So, yeah, you want to see very good consistency. Very good consistency. This has the potential to be a violent rally, one of the most violent rallies we've ever seen, or since 2020. This was such an obvious buy for Tesla. It has sold off on every single earnings report for like the last year, down 15%. And then it sells off 20% going into it on the most pessimistic sentiment it's like had in a long, long, long time. And granted, it looks absolute shit, but that was the point of it going up, is that it had to look so unbelievably disgusting. I think that looks absolutely insane. I think this is going to hit the God line at 231 before it tops. The next target would be the open on the year, which is like 250. And at that point, I don't know what it does. I want to see the God line get hit on this rally. If the rally happens and all this stuff, even on the monthly MACD, look at that. Touches the MACD. It's on the zero line, but if it goes up a lot this month, then it won't be on the zero line anymore. So it's going to be doing this wiggle waggle the next couple of months with the rally and the sell-off. But that is a violent activation touching the monthly zero line for the first time since 2019. And you're getting this violent rally. We're looking for at least this, 231, and anything higher. And then you have... And anything higher than 250 on the year to get an upper wick would be near the blow off top. That's what I would believe would be near the top. And I think I don't want to say we're going to crash this much, but because it's hard when you see that much energy down in the market, how will stocks react to it? I think we could get to there. This is the uptrend, and this is a downtrend here like this, and it would make sense. There's a gap here. There's a gap right there at 80. This is a lower trend, right? So the gap is here, right there. And this is a downtrend. It goes right down to here. And this is the uptrend. So there's a lot of confluence around this 80 area going into the end of the year or early next year. I had to guess it'd be something like that. And that's the bottom for Tesla. Something like that. So he sells off. The mega cap will underperform this year. I think Apple is going to get fucking crushed. I think Apple will drop at least 50% from its high. I think tech will underperform until 2025. I think, and that's where the Russell is going to outperform after the drop. All the money from mega cap is going to go someplace, and the Russell is going to take it over. And then the mega cap will go up slowly to finish off the multi-year rally in a couple of years once this happens, because this will be a bottom, and then Tesla is going to become Tesla again, and we're going to go back up to like 1,000 plus and do all this nice stuff. And then you have Bitcoin, Bitcoin being Bitcoin. You have the halvening, so there's mass euphoria in the market, or everyone's expecting mass euphoria, right? That's a nice looking bottom right there. Blow off bottom, drop, relative doji, lower wick, right? Into that, breaking that. Not at the zero line, but it doesn't have to, but it could. Be aware of that. So again, like this next week or so. But that looks really clean for this to start ripping. And then you had Mara start taking off again. June calls were so nice. Went from 14 to 20 in a couple of days. And yeah, this is going to really take off. The Bitcoin gets going. There's so much craziness going on. So that's that. This is your God lines here. And I would assume like it's just going to pierce it. And I also believe if this is correct and then go into the middle of June, give or take, on a big rally, I don't think it's going to go down slowly or kind of roll over for you to start buying puts or sell it. I think it's going to gap down 2% and just get plastered. Absolute annihilation. There's not going to be a news event or a warning. We'll probably find it with the algos and stuff like glitch trades and stuff. But for the normal person, they're going to see it and they're not going to think anything of it at all. Because the way this is set up. Because if you can see, most times when UVXY does this, it bases before it makes its final drop before the correction. It doesn't do this. Do you see how this is boxed? Oh, see how this move is boxed? Spike, drop, spike, right? Boxed. See how this gaps down, spikes up, and ends down, and then gaps up, and then dies. Do you see how everything is kind of boxed in this direction? So like this is pure, this is up, down, this is pure up. This will probably be like pure down, something like this, and then a gap down. That is extreme. It's carrying a lot of energy in it. That's why it's doing this. I don't think I've ever seen it do something like this. It's carrying a fuck ton of energy. So it does that. There's just like all these things that I see. So yeah, now you know. I really hope this plays out exactly like this, because this is exactly what it looks like. So we're right at the neutral print. That's funny. Good luck with it. And there's the amount of money to be made if this happens is going to be unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Both to the upside, but more so to the downside. This move, I have no words for what I see and how much down momentum there is. But yeah. Oh, my target for UVXY is 151. So if UVXY goes down to $9 on the glitch trade, that's 1,500% on shares. So That's what I see right now. We'll see what happens. Good luck, everybody. Hope you have a good spring and enjoy the insanity. I'll probably tweet here and there. Hold on, we got to finish out with.
If your dollar ain't shit and it's taxed to no end, cause the rich man, cause the rich man.
I'm so gay. Shut up. All right, guys. Good luck. And I'll see you when I see you. I may stream at the top or near the bottom, but that's it because I can't do much. Take care, guys. Peace out.